That's my Carnage impression. As I've made it very clear in the past, symbiotes, not for me. But this comic was voted on over on my Patreon, and my viewers do love symbiotes. They love the goop. You guys, if there's one thing I know about my viewers, it's that you love the goop. So here we are, talking about a weird little story about symbiotes. And this is a longer story with a bunch of crossovers between Agent Venom and Scarlet Spider, that's his name. Agent Venom, I admit, is a fun and interesting idea. Sure, he kind of turns into almost Commando Spawn, but I would rather read Agent Venom than I read Spawn. And Scarlet Spider, I don't really have anything to say about him. I like his suit. His suit is cool. Other than that, I don't know much. I never read Scarlet Spider. I'm aware of his origins as a weird clone of Peter Parker. That is it. Anyway, I'll be skipping all of those crossovers from those other two series, Agent Venom and the Scarlet Spider issues, and instead focusing purely on the two issues that are actually named Minimum Carnage, Alpha and Omega. And before I get started, like and subscribe for Goop! Released in 2012, written by Chris Yost, with art by Colin Bunn. This is
Minimum Carnage!
AKA, Honey, I Shrunk the Carnage. And for anybody unfamiliar with who these characters are, here's verbatim from the Marvel recap page at the beginning. Eugene Flash Thompson was a high school bully turned war hero. When he lost both legs in combat, his country gave him a chance to serve again, bonding him with the alien parasite goop suit, known only as Venom. Kane was a lab experiment gone wrong, an imperfect clone of Peter Parker. Then he moved to Houston, Texas, and became the Scarlet Spider. Cletus Cassidy is a murderer. Now he's a murderer with a symbiotic goop suit, an offspring of Venom called Carnage. Like I said, that's verbatim. That is exactly what is written in the books. Don't check it, just take my trusted word for it. The book begins at Thunderbolts Mountain, maximum security prison in Colorado. Cletus Cassidy, who for some reason is wearing only a straitjacket and face mask, and it's not even a Hannibal Lecter style face mask. It's just a cloth face mask like everybody wore in 2020. You really think that's gonna stop him? Anyway, he looks up at the ceiling and cryptically says, yes. And 3 hours later, the prison has been torn apart. Debris, fire, corpses litter the hall. Then Agent Venom rips out the door and leads a team of special forces into the facility. They find the destroyed cell that once contained Cletus Cassidy before continuing down the hall and discover a sealed security door with claw marks in it and the surrounding walls. Flash kicks the door in and tells everybody not to panic because he's Agent Venom, aka an Avenger, and asks what the hell happened. The head of staff says that the power in half of the facility went down, including all of their communications. They're barely just now getting everything back up. Flash asks to take a look at the security footage that they've finally got working, as he takes a phone to call the state police, the FBI, National Guard, everyone! As they watch the footage, they witness guards being killed by seemingly invisible assailants. The chief of the prison says that they have anti-invisibility systems in place, and that while they did incinerate the remnants of Carnage on Cletus's body, the symbiote has been a part of him for far too long and has bonded to his DNA. Then Flash notices something, and they enhance the footage to find some kind of bug. 2 hours later, at one of the many police checkpoints in Colorado, Cletus Cassidy is spotted in a red pickup. The police order him out of the vehicle at gunpoint. Cletus says that the cop better watch his fat pig mouth because he has new friends who went through a whole lot of trouble to free him, and they have big plans. Then the cop's throat is slashed and several vehicles explode. 2 days later, in Houston, Texas, Scarlet Spider swings around the 50-something tall buildings that are in the city. Look, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt and just say that Marvel's Houston is just a lot bigger than real life's. That's the only way this would make sense. Anyway, he follows a parade of police and firefighters to a burning building where he smashes into a floor and calls out if anyone needs help. Inside, he finds a corpse bleeding from the head and what looks to be a bullet hole in the wall. But he also finds a man huddled in a corner repeatedly asking for forgiveness. Scarlet Spider grabs the guy who screams bloody murder as he rescues him from the fire. Later at the Houston Medical Center, Kane speaks to the police officer named Wally Layton about the murder and the mystery crazy guy who is now in a sedated coma. Ryan Catola. Ryan Catola was the son-in-law of the murder victim, but before he was put under, he said he was attacked by a monster. A monster that looked just like the Scarlet Spider. Ooh, I wonder who that could be. Then the doctor reveals that Ryan told them that the monster didn't want him, it wanted his wife. Also, can I just point out how stupid and kind of inconsiderate it is that Kane is just going around without a mask on, as a clone of Peter Parker? Sure, he has slightly shorter hair, and it's a bit lighter, I guess, than Peter Parker's. Sure, they're in different states completely, but someone could surely work out, hey, Peter Parker, that famous photographer of Spider-Man in New York, sure looks a lot like Scarlet Spider, like just a chance occurrence of somebody just walking into this room or something. You know, like, he doesn't walk around with the mask off all the time, but come on, Kane. At the Lyndon B. Johnson Space Center, Dr. Catola speaks to a reporter regarding the rumors of a subatomic universe, which Catola's research team has been studying the possibility of. Catola then gets up to leave, when Cletus murders 2 guards and goops himself up. But Scarlet Spider smashes through the window and slams Carnage across the lobby. He orders Catola and the reporter to run as he snaps Carnage's neck. But Carnage rights itself around and sends a tendril straight at Spidey's heart, nearly missing. And Scarlet Spider protrudes his bone spears from his forearms, a thing he can do, but before he can use them, he's electrocuted by these guys. The snake-headed one orders Carnage to stop dilly-dallying around because they have to get to something called the pit. Carnage tells these 6-inch tall characters to hold on while he murders Scarlet Spider, but then he's shot in the back by the reporter, Katie Kiernan. Carnage grabs her with his tendrils and demands to know who she is, and when she tells him that she's a reporter, Carnage growls,
"A reporter, huh? Well, I have something to report."
The tiny people lead Carnage away as he carries Katie and Dr. Catola into, well, a room with a big pit. The little guys start activating the controls via mind control of Dr. Catola. Then the Prometheus pit activates. A glaring green light explodes and bathes the room, and then Carnage chucks Katie inside of it. The leader tells Carnage to remember their deal. He helps them kill, and they give him an entire universe to torment and torture and murder and just do whatever he wants to it. Then Scarlet Spider webs his hand. Carnage shoots spikes at Dr. Catola, piercing her body, and dives into the pit, pulling Scarlet Spider with him. Kane lets loose the web and watches as Carnage disappears. And then Agent Venom shows up, locked and loaded. This episode is brought to you by my comics, specifically the Custodians Agents of Cross, which I am serializing over on my Patreon, patreon.com/Smokey's videos. It's over 60 pages of pure comics for only $15, but you can see it serialized weekly over on my Patreon for as little as $2. It is a love letter to the Silver Age filled with fun characters, crazy stories, and even fake advertisements. I'm also serializing each issue of Destructo Boy, a fun sci-fi zany epic that is fit for the whole family and follows a little robot on a giant space station as he battles crime, villainy, and giant monsters and whatever threats should arise to his home. Each weekly serialized post includes commentary and annotations on the comic. I am also posting commentary tracks for the MCU, the Snyderverse, and any movies in general over at Pop Pop Popcorn, which I will be posting a audio commentary track of any movie and a follow-up discussion video. There's also behind-the-scenes progress posts of the Custodians as I'm working on it, original art, and much more. So what happens between Minimum Carnage Alpha and Minimum Carnage Omega? Well, Carnage goes to the Microverse of the Marvel Universe to work for Marquis Radu, a diabolical leader of the Microverse's most evil armies, who plans on using Carnage to dominate the Microverse and make the Dominion his own. Venom and Scarlet Spider follow them into the pit, where they eventually meet the new Micronauts, who were the acting resistance to Radu's forces. Eventually, Radu started creating an army of clones of Carnage, but since it's Carnage, it's obviously unstable, and they escaped into the Microverse and back into the Oververse. Back in Houston, life goes on as it normally would. The sun shines in the sky, people walk the streets. That baby over there at the aquarium has a 5 o'clock shadow. And at a shopping center, an old man retches over in pain and begins coughing up blood as his wife calls for help. Then another man falls over in pain, coughing out blood, followed by another and another, as thousands of tiny Carnage symbiotes make their way like a wave of red death through the shopping crowds. Then they all emerge from the corpses, and Carnage recomposites himself, annoyed that he was sent back to this awful world, and pledges to bring about an apocalypse. Meanwhile, back in that little thing called the Microverse, the Micronauts station approaches the space wall which exists between both universes. A mysterious figure leading the Micronauts, called the Redeemer, then uses his powers to send Venom, Scarlet Spider, and Katie home. They arrive back to their world, but unfortunately, they're 6 inches tall, and they look up to discover a regular-sized Carnage. Carnage goes after the trio as Venom takes Katie to safety and Scarlet Spider goes head-on. Venom uses his tiny little guns to blast the Carnage clone hybrid things as Kane destroys them with his claws. Venom starts shooting the big Carnage in the face, and Carnage recalls himself to reform, in turn capturing Venom and Scarlet Spider in his goop. Carnage says that they brought this upon themselves. They could have just let him stay in the Microverse and leave him the fuck alone and let him kill whoever he wanted. But now, he's gonna murder them and everybody in the world with his little tiny selves. And then, he starts electrocuting them with strange micro-energy, or they're starting to grow bigger, I'm not quite sure, and they are launched away and return to their normal sizes. Carnage calls the duo half-assed knockoffs as he unleashes a wave of little Carnages at them. Unfortunately, Carnage has also gotten even bigger, somehow, and kind of looks like he was drawn by Kelly Jones in this panel. Venom and Scarlet Spider take the fight back to the serial-killing monster as legions of little gremlin-sized Carnages assault them. Venom is then bitten by a super Carnage. Shouldn't be that big of a problem, right? He doesn't have any legs. As Scarlet Spider is crushed beneath a giant tendril, Venom is able to free a grenade from his belt, activates it, and drops it inside of the Super Carnage. Carnage explodes in a fiery, goopy mess as Flash is launched through the air, and the smoke clears as Cletus lies on the ground, the Carnage symbiote slowly returning to his body as Venom and Flash do the same. Kane returns and helps Venom up as they wonder how the hell Cletus is still alive, and Cletus just stares at them and laughs maniacally as Kane walks over, protrudes his blade, and executes Cletus Cassidy. Flash races at Spidey and tosses him against the wall, demanding to know why he did that. And then Kane does the whole argument that people say about Batman. Oh, why do you keep arresting him if he just escapes? Why not kill him? Flash tells him that nothing would separate them from the villains, and that ultraviolence cannot be the answer to ultraviolence. There has to be another way. But Scarlet Spider tells him to fuck off and let him know when he figures what that way is, as Flash watches the Carnage symbiote reform across Cletus's corpse. Sometime later, the Avengers inspect and dismantle the pit along with S.H.I.E.L.D., the Catolas are reunited, the city of Houston grieves, Micronauts continue their crusade, and Venom watches Cletus Cassidy in his new cell in an undisclosed containment facility. Then a doctor of the facility walks up to Venom and explains that while Cletus did survive the wounds, it's left him catatonic and he's effectively lobotomized. The symbiote is still inside of him, meaning that it is now in full control, which is why they must keep him, constantly sedated. The end. Hope you enjoyed this quick little episode about just a strange story. It's a fun story, I think. I don't know, let me know in the comments what you thought. Also, leave any suggestions for books I should cover in the future down there as well. Like I said at the top, I don't care about Carnage, I don't care about Venom, I don't care about the symbiotes at all. They've never interested me outside of the sort of idea of them as horribly parasitic monsters, which they're never depicted as. But this was fun. I enjoyed seeing just little Carnages being weird. It's a terrifying presence. Like, he kills 20, 30 people just in a little section of a mall. Imagine what would have happened if they didn't stop him there. Or if he came out, if he rematerialized anywhere else in the world. Why don't you just send Cletus Cassidy to the sun? I feel like that would solve your problem if the Carnage symbiote is so embedded within his DNA. Just chuck him into the sun. Get the Sentry to do it. I'm sure he'd be happy to. Carnage in the multiverse, or oh no, is that a thing already? Do they do that? I think they did Venomverse, but how have they not done Carnage? Carnage kills the multiverse. Carnage ruins the multiverse. Carnageverse. You don't really see the Microverse a lot anymore, primarily because that was a licensed thing. The Micronauts were a licensed comic that Marvel did, and, like, really tied in a lot of Marvel's stories to the Microverse, aka the Quantum Realm. Agent Venom, he's neat to see. I forgot how well designed he is. I kind of made fun of it earlier for his saying he kind of looks like Commando Spawn, or just Spawn when he grabs a bunch of guns. But it really is a sweet costume. It looks cool. It's fantastic design there all around. Whoever did the first Agent Venom design, good job. Finally giving your acknowledgments about 12 years later. Do you have any recommendations for Agent Venom? Scarlet Spider, he's neat as well. I think at this point the reason he has those bone spear thingies is because he is, like, possessed by the other, which, oh god, I don't even want to fucking talk about that. I hate that. But it's cool. Again, he has a cool costume. Looks neat. He's a gruffer, more murderous Spider-Man, I guess. He's Kane. Makes sense. The final bit I'm going to talk about, in case you missed it, if you don't watch the Comic Shtick podcast and you have made it this far into the video, is that the next 2 weeks are going to be special re-uploads of previous What Is videos. You'll see what that means when it comes around, but I just need some I need some buffer time. I need some time to sort of bank videos in, so I'm not working on this week after week, because a lot kind of goes into this. Since I'm just one guy doing it, I have to write the script, I have to get the pages ready, I have to edit the panels, which includes getting rid of all of the dialogue, cropping them properly. If I'm adding motion to it, that adds even more work, which is why I don't do it that often. I have to, if I'm doing research for stuff, that takes even longer. So yeah, I just need about a month to get this ready. Actually, no, I just remembered. The next video, is going to be Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 6. And then after that is going to be the re-uploads. That's going to be happening, so stay tuned. Check those out. It's fun, because you get to see my evolution as a YouTuber. Some of them are earlier videos. So obviously, you can see how different I've become. And if you've missed those earlier videos, if you haven't gone back and watched them, they're going to be collected right here. Brand new special uploads, special re-uploads. So I will see you guys next time for a very exciting special episode of What Is. See you in a month or so. Bye.